Hello again, and welcome back to 1933's New York City, where we have our group of intrepid, about to be hopefully seafarers, um, running around picking up newspaper articles as though it was going out of fashion. Um, and without much further ado, let's go around the table and see who we are, starting with our used-to-be doctor.
Yes, I'm Roger Tremblay. I did miss the last session where there appeared to be a bit of excitement, or so I would like to believe, and I'm very excited to join in the excitement this week.
And heading on to one of the real doctors, the esteemed Dr. Wigglesworth.
Yes, Dr. Wigglesworth here, trying to make sure preparations are set for the SS Gabrielle to begin her expedition to the Antarctic.
And continuing our theme of academia, how about Dr. Stoddard?
Dr. Stoddard has been sort of doing the last minute polish, making sure his own gear is in set, and making sure some of the important stuff for expedition, cleats, snowshoes, rope, making sure he's got that taken care of on his own end. Because yes, there's always expedition, but you always have your own equipment too.
Can't say fairer than that. And speaking of fairness and accurate reporting, how is Miss Russo doing?
She is the opposite of Dr. Stoddard, not prepared for what's coming in the least. She is dead on the story that she sees in front of her, and she is quite excited about it.
And we can't speak about being prepared for what's in front of the group without mentioning the one investigator who is just living the life, looking forward to getting back to their proper climate. How is Big Sue's doing?
Well, Big Sue's is doing great. I've been taking care of our canine companions and just looking back to getting out there on the ice and getting some mushing in.
Smashing. And indeed, given the amount of reporters on the streets around the shipyard, there is no end of practice of the dogs of going, smushing, making it possible to navigate the streets of New York, as even the most intrepid New Yorkers aren't used to seeing a pack of a dozen or so huskies come barreling around the corner, making way for the group. Which is almost as exciting as the photo shoot that occurred a couple of days ago that has now made its way into the papers, where the reading public can see the intrepid adventurers setting out in all their Antarctic gear, and the eagle-eyed readers might be able to spot that apparently, at least according to the charts on the table, they're going to be they're heading for the Malacca Straits outside of Singapore, in the middle of the tropics. But with the opening of the Empire State Building 2 years before, New York City and its towering lower Manhattan skyline became the emblematic capital of the world. Now, despite a deepening Great Depression and breadlines that continue to lengthen, New York's financial power and glittering nightlife make it the goal of the most talented and the most ambitious people in the United States. In the early morning, the river fog shrouds Manhattan's towers. The venting steam from radiator boilers drifts up like dreams along each city block. In the thousands, They are shimmering presentiments of skyscrapers yet to come, of fortunes yet to be made, of honors yet to be bestowed, of horrors yet to be plumbed. Slowly, the subways and elevated rail lines rumble alive. It's a new day, and the city smiles, and we'll take a look at what you bring. But be quick about it, bub. There's a million people right behind you. And along with about a million other people, you start the morning of the 6th with the newspaper delivered underneath your door. And if we look at, if I can get it to the right spot. In the campaign notes is a new newspaper article. If somebody would care to grab it and read it out.
Is that handout 18?
P9.
Oh, P9. Well, let me find it. Okay.
I have it if you don't. I got it.
Oh, no, I got it. Famed sea captain murdered. Watery death for Commander Douglas. New York Associated Press. J.P. Douglas, 50 years old, was discovered last night in the water off Battery Wharf. 2 fishermen brought the unconscious mariner ashore after an assault by person or persons unknown. Commander Douglas died on the way to the hospital. A respected officer of the Merchant Marine for many years, Douglas will be remembered as a captain of the SS Arkham, one of the vessels which carried the Miskatonic University expedition to the Antarctic in 1930. Douglas was reportedly in New York City to speak with the leaders of the Starkweather-Moore expedition, which will leave in a few days. The expedition expects to retrace the route of Douglas's ship 3 years ago. Thomas Gregor and Phil Jones, sailor residents in New York City, were returning to their fishing boat, Bristol, when they heard muffled cries and ran to see what was happening. They spotted a man running away and some agitation in the water. While Jones ran after the fleeing man, Gregor dove into the cold waters of the harbor and found a motionless figure there. He heroically pulled the unconscious man out of the water and onto the dock. He attempted to revive the drowned man. Meanwhile, Jones, who had lost his quarry, went for help. Police later announced that Commander Douglas had been bludgeoned about the head and began a search for his murderers. Anyone with information about this terrible crime or about Mr. Douglas's whereabouts on the night of the murder should contact Detective Hansen at the Battery Precinct Station.
And then if somebody could also take a look at P10.
Death announcements. Commander J.B. Douglas. Jeremiah Barnes Douglas, Commander of the United States Merchant Marine, retired, age 50 years, died September 5th in New York City. Douglas served as an officer in the Merchant Marines during the Great War. He retired from the service as a commander in 1926 after 25 years. He then captained his own vessel, the Arkham, notably on an expedition to Antarctic in 1930 to 1931. He retired from active life in 1932 to his home in New Hampshire. Known as JB to his family and friends, Douglas is remembered as quite forthright and a stout friend to all. He is survived by his brother Philip. A graveside memorial service will be held September 8th at 11 a.m. at St. Bridget's Cemetery in Brooklyn.
Now, with this news, not unsurprisingly, there is quite the stir as you head down the corridor to the main meeting room at the end of the 4th floor here at the Amherst Hotel. Notably, neither Dr. Moore nor Mr. Starkweather are in attendance. But the death of Commander Douglas, as well as the as yet unannounced well, apart from the news that actually broke yesterday morning, in fairness, that he was going to be the commander of the trip, or the captain on the trip on board the SS Gabrielle, is pretty much all that any of the crew are talking about as they gather their breakfast and coffee.
And do we know, is this going to delay the launch of the expedition or not? Because there's this graveside memorial, so I don't know if they're going to wait for that to pass first.
Right now, the departure is set for the 9th.
Okay.
So that would leave time for people to attend the service, which
Do we
appears
need to get a
scheduled for the
replacement captain?
What's the date today?
8th. The 6th.
Okay, thanks.
And he was planning on being the captain of our expedition as well for the SS Gabriel?
Apparently, that is what he had been hired on for. Now, up until yesterday morning, it was believed that I need to find him here. It was believed that Captain Friedenberg was going to be the captain, so it may just be that he gets rehired, as it were. The first that anybody knew, well, the first that almost anybody knew about the commander was the newspaper announcement yesterday morning that he had agreed to become the captain of the Gabrielle for the trip.
And neither Starkweather or Moore are here. Does anybody know where they are that we can maybe talk to them about what all this means?
They haven't been seen as yet. Now, their rooms are on the floor above.
Okay.
On the 5th floor.
I mean, either we're... Go ahead.
But also, Roger, you weren't here for the last session when they actually moved up our date by 3 days, was it?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So even faster than I thought. There was a bit of a kerfuffle while you were away. There's
Just
some
seems
competition.
Yeah, and it seems a little odd that the captain that we were supposed to take us to Antarctica is suddenly dead. We're either the unluckiest expedition or somebody's out to get the expedition, and I don't believe in luck.
We're just using up all our bad luck first right away.
Wonder if this has anything to do with that weird letter I received last night.
Letter?
You received a letter last night?
Some loon that was nuttier than a squirrel turd slipped a letter underneath my door. I just kind of threw it away. It said something about warning us not to go to some ungodly lands or something. I could barely read it. Had a horrible chicken scratch.
Yeah, if you reckon, given that it was last night, they won't have had a chance. Housekeeping won't have been through yet, so it's probably still in your waste paper basket.
Just give me a second. Let me go see if I have it.
And that would be P8.
I come back downstairs carrying a crumpled piece of paper that I slowly spread out on the table between everyone. I don't know if
Let's
anyone
have
else
a
can
look.
read it, but it's tough. It's P8, by the way.
Let's have a look at this here, Big Suze. Ah, yes. Well, this is sounding a bit like, what's his name? Dyer from Miskatonic? Just a bit.
It is a little bit in his style, yes. So just so the chicken scratching is clear. Dear man of science, soon you will go down far away to the cold and the white eyes and the old things that wait and move and work and plan. Do not. Blessed Mary hears me beg you to stay. Do not wake the sleeping one there. Do not pass the prison walls of black and white cold ice and time. The cage must not open. Let the dead and the dying hold close the doors. I have listened to his dreams. I have seen its form within his mind, for he has seen it and he knows it must be free, and he will stop you if you go. Turn back or we all die. A friend.
Wiggles, did you say you think this is Dyer?
Well, I don't know the man personally, but reading through the journal gives you much the impression this does, particularly towards the end. That warning not to go.
I didn't think anyone's seen him in quite some time.
Do we have anyone from MU here on the expedition with us? Perhaps they know.
That is
Well, one of the
interesting
expedition
question.
leaders is, right?
Well,
They're not
yes.
here.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, that was the follow-up question, is where have they gone off to?
Maybe we should go have a conversation with them, seeing as no one else seems to care. I grab my coffee and my bagel and start working my way upstairs.
And you make your way upstairs into the corridor along with fellow companions, we'll say. Stop. There we go. And I'm missing. Who am I missing?
Roger Tremblay?
Roger, indeed. Somehow. There is Roger. There we go. And you come up onto the fifth floor, and it is quite the scene, quite the kerfuffle. Down towards the end of the corridor, where Mr. Starkweather's room is just the hallway is just filled to the brim with reporters clamoring, shouting over each other, photographers holding cameras on tripods over people's heads. Just clearly the crowd continues into Mr. Starkweather's room. It's just everybody is shouting questions. It's difficult to pick up anything really. The next door along is Dr. Moore's room, and whilst there is a crowd outside it and people are occasionally knocking on the door and so forth, that door is closed. So it's more just a melee of a crowd outside it, but nobody's really paying too much attention. One thing that does strike you is about halfway down the corridor is somewhat of an open space in the crowd, an area of stillness surrounding a quite tall, rather thin man in his mid-30s, wide brim hat pulled down half over his face, almost as if he was taking a nap in the chair that he's sitting in along the wall. In a trench coat underneath which you can quite clearly see the uniform of New York's finest. But he's just leaning back, seemingly not paying the crowd any attention.
Can we tell what he's looking at or what he's doing?
Probably not without going forwards and looking up underneath that wide brim of a hat.
And I'll walk up to him and I'll say, you seem a little at odds here in a throng of reporters. Are you keeping an eye on anything here? You seem a little out of place.
Well, I figure that sooner or later, the news hounds will run out of bait and tire themselves out, or go off and find something else to scribble about, and I'll have a chance to have a word with Mr. Starkweather. But it's not like Commander Douglas is going anywhere anytime soon. And I'm in no hurry. The truth comes to those who wait.
So Detective Hansen, I presume.
Indeed.
I see. So you were investigating the murder of, what was the former commander, Douglas, who is supposed to be captaining our expedition. I'm also part of this expedition, and I'm a little suspicious that he was signed on so quickly met his end after signing on to the expedition. Somehow seems like the two might be related.
I couldn't possibly comment on hearsay and supposition.
Well, at this point, we're wanting to question Starkweather and Moore just as much as you, so you might have to wait a little longer for your turn, I suppose.
Oh, I think it may well be yourselves that end up doing the waiting. After all, official business and all that. You wouldn't want to make it seem as though you were possibly putting spokes in the legitimate investigations of the NYPD, now would you?
I suppose not. I think I can patiently wait. What do the rest of you say?
Speaking of which, you mentioned that the good commander was going to be taking over command of the SS Gabrielle. What have you actually been informed of? What do you know? And he's just looking around the group.
And I'm also puzzlingly looking
Only
at the
thing
rest
I
of the
know
group.
is I'm about tired of waiting on them. Only thing I know is I'm about tired of waiting for those reporters about to fix and to do something about it.
And then Roger takes a step back and clears the way for Big Sue's just in case.
Leaving a clear line between Big Sue's and the back 15 yards of crowd. Dr. Wigglesworth.
Yes.
I would like you to make some manner of social role. Inasmuch as I could, of course, be misremembering, but I believe you may know something about the good commander.
Okay. Wigglesworth might know, but I might have forgotten if that's the case. But I do have a charm skill.
I was going to say, the issue here is I believe that Dr. Moore had asked you, had spilled the beans to you about the commander coming on board and where he would be staying, and asking you to help him get set in, as it were, whilst keeping him away from the press.
Oh, I see. And was that wasn't for our previous Arkham captain? That was for the new one that they've hired on.
That was for Commander Douglas. So, yes, the Arkham captain, now deceased.
Oh, I see. Okay, so yeah, I was supposed to meet up with the now deceased and show him around, but he died. Right? That's what I'm understanding.
Yes.
Well, that certainly is bad, but is that particularly suspect? I mean, what does that mean that I know exactly?
Well, it's just the Inspector JJ has asked if anyone in the group knows anything about the commander being hired on, or basically anything that might be useful in his investigations is the phrase he uses.
Oh, the police wants a statement. Well, I'm not making a statement in public, certainly. I'll keep it in mind. Yeah, I wasn't necessarily going to withhold it, but thank you for spelling it out for me.
So hence I'm thinking a charm roll just to paper over the cracks, whilst I'll see if I actually have a.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if it's just to skirt the detective in this scene, I think, frankly, I don't know if the good Dr. Wigglesworth would want to ignore or like, what's the word? What am I looking for here? Deceive the authorities. But he might smile and sort of straighten his vest up and say, you know, I'm sure things are going to work out. Once we talk it over, we can come in and give our side of things. And of course, we're happy to work with your investigative team. And so you're saying that's a charm roll?
Yeah, let's call it a charm, unless there's some other social skill that you'd rather use.
Nah, Dr. Wigglesworth has a great smile. Oh, don't look. How'd I do? Hey, hard success. I didn't
hard
look.
Success. Okay. I'll just make a.
It's the smile that gets them.
Straight roll. Okay, that 35 isn't going to be an extreme, even for a career police detective in the NYPD. So you have the sense that you've left the inspector with the belief that you don't know anything that is immediately germane to the investigation, but of course you're more than happy to talk to him and his team should the circumstances arise.
Yeah, Dr. Wigglesworth, he's convinced that really he doesn't know anything much about this, and that maybe once he learns a little more, he can come to the police with a better statement.
Which is certainly fair. So I get the sense that Susie may want to take matters into her own hands a little bit, as it were.
Absolutely. They got me all cattywampus. They think they just have the sun rise to hear them crow. I got to get them out of here. Can I make a fighting brawl move to try to push them all out of the way?
Oh, nice. Get the dogs on him, Suze.
You could. The issue being that I know I don't have a whole lot of people actually on the screen, but there is probably 40 feet of just a jam-packed crowd of people leading up to the door at the end.
Oh, okay.
So you could, I mean, certainly if you were to get down towards the extreme end of a roll, you could barrel your way through by hook or by crook, or grabbing the tripod from one photographer and swinging it against somebody else to open up the space in front, to etc.
Oh man,
is there another role that would be appropriate to try to push my way through?
Not really. It probably is a fighting brawl maneuver, unless you wanted, and yet again, it would have to be an extreme, I think, to make it through. You could just go raw dex and try to.
Well, I'm thinking intimidate. Size would be hilarious if you were big enough to push everyone out of the
I am
hallway.
literally big enough to do this if that's what we're going to allow.
Basically, it's Fezzik.
Yeah,
Everybody move!
it's physics. The problem with size is that there just isn't the space with the crowd that's there to use. All that size is going to do is essentially just compress the already maximum compressed crowd even further.
If I might suggest,
I can do one better. Let me break down the door that is to our right, and we can use it to cut through.
No, this is our ship. Don't break the doors.
This is the hotel. This is not the ship.
Okay, thank you.
So basically, just to be clear here, that would mean that would be the door to Professor Moore's room.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
Don't do it.
Oh, I think she's pig-headed enough to do it. Oh, let's give it a try.
I think that would just be a strength roll or a fighting brawl.
Hell yeah, I'll take a strength roll.
Okay, so a hard success
That
on
is
the
a hard
strength roll.
success.
So we have Zeus has managed to break down the door. I will be up here. If you're going for anything that connects into the
does that connect? Because I'm not seeing a connection on that wall. I was looking through the conference room sort of area.
The one you're going into is the main conference room area where you hold the meetings and so forth. But the action is in the bedrooms at the moment. Now, I know on the map here there isn't a connecting door, but let's for the moment assume that there in fact is.
I'm going to try to drag the rest of our party through and then block the door behind me.
Okay. I am going to make a combined crowd strength roll, and I would like Susie to make a size roll.
That is a success on a 90.
Okay. Unfortunately, so first of all, of the group, who is willingly going to let themselves be mother dragged, as it were, whether by tie, whether by scruff of neck, or just a quick grasp of a hand, to be pulled into Professor Moore's room?
Is attempting to move ahead of it an option?
Yeah. Yeah, you can absolutely attempt to basically get into the room as Suze is breaking down the door and kind of get in front of her.
Like, it's just basically like, no, you don't need to grab me, I'm going. Grab me, duck under, go.
I like my finger bones in their original position. Yes. So
Valentina would probably slipped through into Moore's room. Then you said,
Yeah.
okay. Do you want a dex roll or anything for that?
No. It's you're sort of you're petite enough compared to the mass of Big Sue's that you're essentially riding the bow wave of breaking timbers of door frame and so forth.
I pretty much create a wake through the crowd as I move.
Yeah. How about the two professional gentlemen? Bearing in mind that you're standing within 10 feet of a New York police inspector at the moment.
I'll follow after the wake, as shaking my fist at this this crazy wake causing Big Sue's.
Okay.
I think I'll just try and do the same.
Absolutely. So you all make it into the room. Unfortunately, Suze is actually pushed back up against the bed by a group of about half a dozen reporters and 3 photographers who've split off the main crowd, realizing that there's a new opening and also that it's an opening generated by one of the members of the expedition. And you pretty much all find yourselves with a mass of reporters in front of you, notebooks raised at the ready, asking things like, who do you think killed the commander? What did you
The
think when
murderer.
you heard
Ask
the news?
smarter questions.
What's your favorite color? Can we have a statement for our readers? All in sort of a cacophonous mess.
No, thank you. This is private property. You're not accepted here. No comment. Please go. Please go.
But
Yep,
that
sorry.
police detective over there may have a comment for you if you want to go talk to him.
Oh, he knows lots of things.
So I think I'm going to ask somebody for some kind of social role yet again. So it sounds to me as though we're dealing with some manner of persuasion or intimidate. Charms the possibility, I guess.
Any chance at a fast talk roll?
Oh, absolutely.
I would try a fast talk roll. So.
Yeah. No, fast talk along the lines of, we know nothing, we're not even part of the expedition, we're just the cleaners here to, yeah.
Is a regular success good enough?
Well, we'll see what their psychology roll is like.
I'm willing to spend it down to a hard as well. So if you'd like me to do that first, I can.
I'm not going to worry about it for now. We can... that's. I'm going to claim that these are just regular reporters, so that's just going to be, if anything, a regular success. So it's, they at least let up on the pressure, and between you, you manage to clean them up, and Big Suze gets back in the doorway to act as a buffer, as it were. standing on the door as she does so, or the remains of the door, I should say. Oddly enough, other than a slight shake of his head, the inspector doesn't appear to take much note of the events, and the general crowd are still just completely focused on getting a statement from Starkweather.
The detective should have listened to us when we told him he was going to have to wait till after us. Why don't y'all go get Starkweather?
Dr. Wigglesworth, I believe he's your friend. Would you like to go fetch him?
Very well.
Now, you can at this point quite clearly hear the just the cacophony from next door. It's unclear whether... Actually, go ahead and I'll have everybody make a listen roll.
Valentina got a hard.
Failure.
Okay. So Valentina,
I succeeded.
With a hard, you recognize that there's a vibrato to the sound coming from the Starkweather room that you pretty quickly deduce probably means that the bathroom, looking into the room here and its layout, I mean, it's the same layout as your rooms downstairs, but it probably means that the bathroom is next to the wall here, as opposed to the next room being a mirror room to where you're in. You're sort of getting that enclosed tile echo effect on top of the general noise coming through the wall and down the hallway. So chances are that whilst there is a connector door here, it's going to open up into the bathroom, and then the question is, how thick is the crowd going to be in the room given the crowd in the corridor? You're not sure that you're going to have much success in reaching Starkweather unless he happens to be, best scenario is that he's gone and hidden himself inside the bathtub and locked the bathroom door before the reporters got to him. But that feels kind of unlikely given Starkweather's, frank and uninhibited admiration for the press and the powers that it holds. Your journalist tingles suggests to you that Starkweather is probably just about in his element right now, surrounded by members of the press in all directions.
Can I hear what he's saying, or can I see if he's giving a statement or anything?
With a hard, you think you hear what sounds like his voice, but you can't hear what it's saying. It sounds as if he's trying to talk at the same time as the mass of reporters are talking as well. So whether he's responding to, say, somebody in the front row and the next 5 rows are busy asking him questions at the same time, or whether he's just being ignored by everybody trying to get their questions in, you can't really tell.
I could probably open the door and see if we could hear better if I do at that point. At least we could glean some information, maybe.
Yeah.
Or we could just wait for everybody to clear out. Either way.
Yeah. You have or I'm sure somebody in the group has the raising hackles on the back of the neck thought that waiting in Professor Moore's room until the crowd lets out and being discovered, as it were, at the scene of the crime of the break-in may not be judicious. Now, opening the connecting door and having a listen, that's pretty much in a day's work for Valentina. I would certainly be happy to entertain a stealth roll to see how unobtrusively he can manage to do that, or indeed anybody.
Absolutely, I'll give you a stealth roll. That's a hard success, I believe.
Ooh, glorious, glorious. So Valentina moves up against the connecting door and just sliding her hand over the lock on this side. You don't even hear the mechanism of the lock unlatching as the door slowly swings open, revealing the door on the opposite side, which takes but a moment to glint open, revealing a dark bathroom beyond. And looking back to the rest of the group in the bedroom, I imagine that Valentina just holds up a finger to her lips as she slides into the space beyond, whilst still sort of in the door frame, as it were, just in case she has to head back in a hurry. I'll say, go ahead and, well, you could do this couple of different ways. I can think of an English language role, a straightforward listen role, or an education role, as in professional journalist, to try to decipher the babble that she's faced with.
I'll go with language own English. So that sounds like a good idea. Regular success.
Regular success. Oh, okay. In which case, I'm going to ask, what is there any particular aspect or particular questions that you're hoping for the answers for?
If there's anyone that Starkweather thought maybe the murderer, who would have a motive to kill the captain. Who else knew he was going to be the captain? Or was it just because it just happened after it got publicized?
Okay. You're not quite sure that it's necessarily in context, mainly because what you catch is Starkweather in an unusually agitated and irascible tone of voice. So it's somewhat deeper than normal, which means that it doesn't quite cut through in the same way that against the questioning mass of reporters. But you're pretty confident that you catch the phrase, "that bitch Lexington."
Not really surprised there, but I guess
in response to one of the who would have, who killed the commander and why, and it's that bitch Lexington. She read the papers like everybody else yesterday and decided to take matters into her own hands, and now she's going to flee the country scot-free, and the police are doing nothing.
I think Valentino just continued to listen for right now and just see if there's anything else she can glean. Nothing in particular, just kind of like listening to see like how if things get a little too excited in there and he has to be pulled out, or if he starts getting angry and we have to kind of protect the reputation of the expedition or something like that.
He does start to get angry, but he manages to keep himself under control, mainly because he gets asked other questions like, "What are you doing now?" And that sort of catches him enough that he can go into his usual mode of spinning yarns to the masses. As he says, well, fortunately, we still have the good captain on staff. I'm sure he will more than happily take up the reins that he was due to have up until a few days ago. Trying to think anything else on. Other than that, just obviously a great loss to not just to us, but to science as a whole.
Okay. Once I feel I've gleaned what I can glean, I'll kind of close the doors gently and go back to the rest of the group and kind of relay what was said, but say there wasn't much of interest. Are we going back out the main door, or are we going to try the fire escape?
If we go out the front door, we could pass by the esteemed Detective Hansen, and maybe he was willing to trade some information. We can tell him we've already talked to Starkweather and tell that he suspects Lexington, of course, but I'm sure the detective would find that interesting. I'm certainly not the one to who could probably convince the share this information with the police, the detective, but maybe someone else is a better talker than I am.
I certainly could. I just don't think I ingratiated him to myself by sticking those recorders on him. I don't know if he's going to take that personally or not.
To be frank, I don't think anyone that's heard Starkweather talk about Lexington ever would be surprised that he suspects her.
So I guess it won't be news to Detective Hansen then. He's probably already well aware of what Starkweather will say. Well, it looks like the fire escape's the way to go. Probably the easiest way.
Easier than a conversation. Yep.
Exactly.
So yes, you make your way down the 5 floors of very rickety, spring-loaded steel stairs down the side into the back alley of the Amherst Hotel.
Once we get to the bottom, I'd ask the rest of the group if we want to go somewhere for breakfast, since it doesn't seem like we're going to be going up there anytime soon, or do we want to just go to the ship and work on something?
Breakfast sounds delightful. All I've had is the bagel and coffee I carried upstairs.
Oh, there's still a lot of preparations to do, but there's no sense doing any of it on an empty stomach. We'll have to make it quick, though.
Well, I could usually at least use a coffee, so I'm in.
Well, fortunately, there's a mum and pop diner slash coffee place just half a block down 6th Avenue. So
While we're sitting and having our breakfast, I do want to ask the rest of you: Is this murder of the commanders is something that we should be spending more time investigating, or do we just leave this to the detective to figure it out? I mean, have any of you spoken to Lexington at all, or met her, or is that something we should be looking into, or should we just be carrying on with the preparations and this is just all noise in the background of it all?
I deal with people who have been dead for hundreds of years. I don't know what you think I have to what skills I have in figuring out a murder investigation.
It would be mere conjecture. Better left to the professionals, although I'm surprised our expedition has not only moved its date up, but no delay even after this announcement. I wouldn't be surprised if it delayed the expedition for a whole term at least.
I hope not. I'm getting stir crazy here.
I think rash decisions are something Starkweather is well known for, so I have a feeling that we won't be delaying the expedition any longer.
I fear you may be right on that point.
I mean, if you guys think that looking into Lexington is something we should do, I'm more than willing to stick my nose in somebody else's business, but
I don't see what good could come of it personally. And as I said, better left to professionals. There's enough work on our plate.
I mean, I'm not gonna say don't step carefully, because who knows what sort of crazy is going on that led to this. I just definitely not the type of thing I tend to go digging around in. Usually it's already in the ground once I get my hands on it.
That does lead me to a question. When does it become archaeology versus grave robbing?
I believe the answer is about 1,000 years.
No, it's not quite that long. So the big thing comes down to the intent and use. There's debate about the actual time window, but when you're doing archaeology, the intent is to learn about human activities in the past. I am not going to dig up a grave for profit. I'm doing it for learning. That's a very fine distinction.
Seems likely, grave robber.
But generally, it's about 100 years.
Well, it does sound like we can just leave the investigation to the detective, but maybe we should check in on the new commander, same as the old commander, I suppose, and make sure he's doing well. I wouldn't do to lose another commander so soon. I think we'd start running out of them.
And whilst you're sitting pondering the activities of the day, I just want to confirm with Dr. Wigglesworth that he is keeping to himself the knowledge of which hotel the that Commander Douglas was supposedly booked into.
No, I'm not going to hold anything back from the police if I think it's pertinent to their investigation.
I was thinking to the group.
Oh, well, it seems a little out of place for me to mention it. Not that it's necessarily a secret, but I'm not sure why I would.
Okay, that's perfectly reasonable. And in fairness, it was Professor Moore did ask you to keep it in confidence. So
yeah, I think Wigglesworth is honestly just so distracted too. He's like, man, I barely had my coffee. We got this blow to the expedition after all the rest of the stuff that set him into early work mode. So I think it's just not even at the front of his mind, truth be told.
the only thing that I would say is Roger did ask whether the murder was something we should look into, and that might have triggered or gotten you to think about it. But if you don't think he did, that's perfectly fine.
in which case, I think the obvious next question is whether you're going to head back towards the hotel to pick up the dog pack and make your way on foot to the docks, or if you're taking a couple of cabs, or what you're assuming that you're heading to heading to the Gabrielle on the assumption that if you're going to find the captain as opposed to the commander, the Gabrielle is where he's likely to be.
That sounds good to me.
Works for me as well.
I mean, we only have so much time to finish preps, so all the time is needed before we lose even more.
Yep, agreed.
So you make your way down to the street leading down to the warehouse that fronts the pier to which the SS Gabrielle is moored. On your way down, I would ask everybody to make spot hidden rolls.
Success.
Ooh. That's a little bit above a success, or above a success, below a success. That's,
Exceptionally successive. Ironically,
Yeah.
it's the one skill I have successfully used before.
Mhm. So Susan, Professor Stoddard, well, it seems as though Dr. Tremblay is otherwise occupied mentally, but everybody else, as you make your way down the street towards the warehouse that is, oddly enough, the doors to which are currently closed. Normally, when you've arrived in the morning, the front doors to the warehouse have been open and there's been a reasonable amount of traffic in and out to the docks. But this morning, the doors are closed. But you do also spot the group of about half a dozen various reporters sort of standing a gaggle by the light lamppost just across the road from the warehouse. And you basically spot them as you're coming around the corner, so you don't think that they've seen you yet. Now, to give you the
we all
wider...
pause and look at the dogs and go, and that's not going to last.
Now, to give you a little bit of a layout, the Gabrielle, and it is at the end of, it's on one pier with a fairly standard commercial warehouse fronting the pier to the road. Next door to that is the far more glamorous and well-kept facade of the Italian post office steamer service. And then there's various warehouses going down the street. So it may be possible, or probably quite likely very possible, if if you can find a stevedore that happens to, say, have the keys for the fence that is between the Italian post office dock and that of the Gabrielle, to make your way dockside one or more warehouses down the way from your warehouse, as it were, and then essentially bypass the reporters.
Where did you say the key would be? I kind of missed that.
Well, in some cases, and particularly with the Italian postdoc, there's a fence along on the dock side, enclosing it from the other docks, presumably for male security reasons. But there's doors in those fences, and presumably somebody has keys for them.
Could I pick the lock?
That's also certainly an option. Whether a group of distinctly not Italian post office employees standing around by the gate or inside the gate, leaning up against it as it suddenly swings open, how noticeable that is perhaps, at least you give it that it is, about 9:30 in the morning at this point. If it was 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, then absolutely.
Remember, Valentina, if they don't catch us in the next 2 days, we're on our way to Antarctica.
So true. You guys wait here for a moment. I'm going to kind of ease my way up to the gate on my own.
Okay. I think I'm going to ask for a stealth roll for that.
I'm going to fail one of these eventually. I know I am. No, that's a hard success.
Okay. Yeah. You managed to do the whole reporter thing of just folding up the lapels on your overcoat, pulling down the brim of your hat a little bit, and fighting the non-existent wind, as it were, make your way up, and you make your way into the warehouse without being molested, or more importantly, without being recognized as part of the Gabrielle crew or expedition group.
Okay,
in fairness to reality, Valentina is probably the least recognizable of anybody.
Also, probably the most Italian one in the group. But did I have to
That
roll a locksmith at some point in time, or no?
No, you basically you made it into, as it were, your warehouse. Assuming that's where you were heading, or were you heading for the Italian post?
I was heading for the Italian post to go pick the lock to let everybody else through.
Okay. So yeah, you absolutely make it into the Italian post, as you say. Going to post a letter to Mama. Not a problem. And so the issue with the Italian post setup is that it's essentially a mail and parcels depot. So it's got the big counter, sort of doors off to the side, leading around the back, and so forth. I think I would like a social role of some kind, just to have you make your way round to the back, onto the dockside proper, as it were. Whether it's by asking somebody at the counter to go and look for a particular parcel that is going to take them some while not to find because it's obviously not there. And you can then slip round unnoticed, or whether there's some other shenanigan that Valentina makes use
Probably.
of, some ruse that Russell uses to make her way back.
Pick up a couple packages and act like I'm taking them somewhere, basically.
Yeah.
So just to make sure I understand, my thought was I'm going through the Italian post so I can let the rest of the group through the back. Is that what I'm understanding, or am I confused?
That's certainly an option. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That'll you
To try to
basically open up if the Gabrielle is to the right on the docks, you can open up an entrance to the left, so 2 docks down from the Gabrielle, have the group come in. That should be far enough down that they can get in without being too noticeable, and then you just make your way across dockside to your pier.
Okay, we'll do that then. Hurry up.
And I think just for flavor, I'm going to ask everybody apart from Valentina to give me a stealth roll.
These new shoes aren't going to do me well here.
Not at all.
Nope.
I will use 10 luck for it.
Okay. So you hear as you're just as you're making your way into this anonymous who knows whose warehouse and closing the door behind you, you hear a shout of, "That was them, the scientists! Quick!" And the rattle of running feet on the cobbles. Seemingly the sight of the 3 professional gentlemen in the dock district was unique enough that the dog walker was paid no heed. But they run into a closed warehouse door, so the scheme still works. And you make your way up the couple of docks to get up to the Gabrielle. The Gabrielle is also unusually quiet. Normally, the pier is a hive of almost febrile activity. But there is the cargo cranes that are normally busy lifting loads into the cargo holds stand quiet. There are some stevedores moving some goods from the railway carriages that are standing on the rails along the pier into the main warehouse. Alongside it, but nowhere near the amount of activity that you are used to seeing. And you make your way aboard to find. You manage to find. Well, you pretty quickly run into the first mate. That you met earlier, pretty much when you first came aboard a couple of days ago. So Peter Sykes. But there is no sign. You run across Peter Sykes in the office's mess, or it's essentially on the deck, the ship deck, and he says that the Captain Friedenberg is aboard. He's upstairs on the bridge. But terrible news about the commander.
Yes, I was to see him on board at first, and it all seemed so sudden.
Is everyone on board okay?
Near as I know, I haven't seen Dr. Green as of yet, so he would probably know more than anyone what the overall state is. But we're just waiting to hear if there's any change in our marching orders, given the distraction.
I suspect there's going to be a bigger push with less time, which is why we showed up to see what we can do to get things battened down.
You see Sykes catch himself for a moment, as though he was about to utter some imprecation against landlubbers and their impossible plans, but he catches himself.
Stoddard kind of is a little like, yeah, no, I get you on that. Even that's I'm not a landlubber, and I get it.
There's no end of things. There's still we still need to build out the dog kennels. We still need to prepare space for, and hopefully the Boeings will arrive from New Jersey this afternoon.
If it can get through the crowd. I know before we were working on inventory and supplies, do you know...
Yeah, where is that at? That's my primary concern.
At least the areas that may have been under your purview. Is there anything that needs chasing down?
Let me see what we have.
We were pretty far behind in the last session. We had to scramble for quite a few things. So I got to follow up on all of those.
Yeah. You can. He just yes. Do grab whatever you have to hand, as it were, and deal with the problems in front of you. I as you can imagine, I have my own share of concerns. Perhaps if I could ask that you contact the explosives merchants out in Jersey City and just make sure that they've actually shipped the dynamite and blasting caps, and it's the right blasting caps. I know you already dealt with them, but given the accelerated schedule, I would just feel more comfortable if we knew that what we're getting later on today is actually right before it gets here.
Agreed. That is definitely important.
I've got the well, I say I have the pilot and the mechanic are out in Jersey at the moment, overseeing the dismantlement and shipping of the 2 Boeings. We've already got the Fairchild, but it's in the warehouse. We have to wait to pack that because it's going to go on top of the hold, being the lighter cargo. Yeah, the one thing that's probably more behind than anything else right now is the fact that we haven't gotten the dog kennels built and installed down in hold 5.
I can get to work on that. I know what dogs are looking for.
We'll need to send some help your way if we're going to get it done in time.
Well, many hands lighten the load.
Let's see if we can't round up a few of the ship's hands to get this done faster.
And whilst there aren't that many, let's say that there's about 60% of the stevedores and ship hands around that you've seen on the previous days. So the morning does go quite slowly, especially once it doesn't take Susan very long. You take about an hour or so to build the first kennel, and then it gets lifted down into the hold. You go down into number 5 hold at the rear of the aft end of the ship. And it's quickly obvious that the steel poles that form the structure that holds the top of the hold, the roof of the hold from the floor, are set up in such a way that the dog kennels don't actually fit as built by about half a foot.
Can I make, say, a mechanical repair roll in order to jury rig it into place?
Sure, you might be able to accelerate. You have the sense that what you're basically going to have to do is take the pre-measured, prefabricated kennel structures and cut it down to size and rebuild it so that it will fit in the spaces in the hold. but a mechanical repair role will certainly speed that up.
Well, I got a hard success on it, so it looks like we're chugging along.
Yep. So that takes up a decent portion of the morning, together with more or less polite phone calls to New Jersey, and where they are actually, they have now gotten the required legal paperwork to be able to ship explosives out of state. So that's all seemingly in hand, and there should be a truck later on this afternoon with the necessary goods.
So is there a phone or something on the ship that we're calling out on for the explosives?
There are phones in various cabins on the ship, but they're just inter-ship phones or intra-ship phones. But there are a couple of phones in the shore warehouse that fronts the pier that you've been using for sort of more full-blown.
What day of the week is it, out of curiosity?
It is that's a good question. I even have a calendar that I should make available, but the 6th of December 1933 was a Wednesday. Or is a Wednesday, I should say.
When we're not using the phone for another purpose, I would like to call the Miskatonic University and try to get the directory to call if Professor Peabody has a number in their directory. Because I have not contacted him, as he was a surviving member of the previous expedition.
Absolutely. He does have, yes, he does have a number. And go ahead and make a luck roll.
That's what I fail. A 91 over 80.
Yep. Unfortunately, Dr. Peabody is currently not available.
I'm going to make a note of what the number is so I can try and call a different day, maybe tomorrow.
Okay. So other than general resource wrangling, carpentry adventures, and tracking down prior expedition members, anything else happening on the Gabrielle that until early afternoon?
Really just trying to do what we can do to
Yeah, a lot of
make
planning.
sure things don't end up worse off.
Yes.
Just figuring like we need to leave any minute and preparing as if that were the case.
Absolutely. The frantic rush of last minute packing a 180,000 ton vessel. Things progress with decent celerity. By early afternoon, Starkweather and Moore do make a show, and as a result, once it's clear that the plan is still to depart in 3 days' time, the hustle and bustle around the ship increases dramatically from the morning. There is you briefly catch sight of the afternoon edition of the New York Post as you're around the place, that has a page 2 headline of "Expedition Ransacked." Antarctic expedition robbed in hotel.
Sure. Totally, that's what happened.
But things basically other than that go to plan. Explosive blasting caps, etc., turn up in a placed in a corner of the warehouse. They're due to be taken aboard tomorrow to be placed under lock and key at the bottom of number 4 hold, where there's a safe basically built into the structure of the hold. And likewise the large crates that contain the fuselage and the folded back wings of the Boeing 247s arrive on some really long trucks, and are also they're actually too long to get into they're going to have to be held outside on the street essentially until they can be brought through and loaded. They're a little bit too bulky to make their way into the warehouse. And that's pretty much all the main events on the 6th. Apart from, let me see if I can find this real quick. Dr. Wigglesworth.
Yes.
When you return to the hotel on the evening of the 6th, you find tucked under your door what is now in the notes sections as P12. And let me know if you'd rather I read it.
All right, let me see. P12. Aha, yes. Yes, this font. Okay, let me see how I do. Dear, you must.
Professor, yeah.
Ah, yes. Dear Professor Wigglesworth, you
Yeah.
must listen to this warning. There will be no others. After this, only action remains. I do not expect any of you to understand my reasons, but all that is necessary is that you act. Consider this a threat if you like, a most earnest threat. The expedition must not sail south. Captain Douglas was only the first to die. If you persist in your brave, blind hopes, you will all perish. Only those who turn back are safe. I hope that you will be among them. Let the dead lie peacefully with their secrets. They are the only ones who are beyond pain. Nothing awaits up on the ice but suffering and a bitter ending that I will do anything to help you avoid. Yes, help. Even death is a blessing compared to what lies in wait. I suppose you will blame me for everything. I don't mind, even though it's not true. There are forces at work here that you do not understand, and I have to be content with that. The deadliest sin sometimes is in the understanding, and the most damned are those who explain. Please, I urge you, turn away. Tell the others. For your own sake, for all of us, turn back while you can. There's nothing more that I dare say. Most sincerely, a better friend than you will ever know. Well, he's no JB. I'll put it to you like that. He doesn't threaten me all the time. Well, yeah, I'm going to show this to the group basically first thing. And then I'm going to really think we got to talk to the police now, because it looks like we may have some kind of a serial killer out there who's after Antarctic explorers, of all things. What luck.
Nutters, all of them.
As we were talking before the stream, after all, there's only 5 groups heading down this year. That's plenty of
We're
people
bound to
choose
set
from.
someone over the edge, apparently. Well, it seems like this individual doesn't want anyone going there. So I doubt that they'd be on an expedition themselves, although that'd be a really great cover too.
So have you shared this information with us then at this point, or?
Oh yeah, first thing I do is I would like to share it with the group. I'm happy to basically have the reading aloud be to you all. I obviously would like to keep the letter. I think I'll take it to the police myself, but I'd like you all to be aware, just in case, because there is a potential danger, it seems.
Step
Do we warn the
careful.
other?
Yeah,
Well,
that's a good idea.
I think we should warn the other expeditions, maybe, if or see if they're having the same problems with some of their members turning up dead. Maybe now is a good time to talk to Lexington.
Perhaps we should also call the Gabrielle and let the captain on board know to keep things battened down, since someone appears to be instigating trouble.
Agreed. Yeah, we need to fill in the expedition leaders and the captain and take this to the police right away.
Well,
Do
if
we
you're
want to split
going
up?
there,
I mean, some we can do through phone calls, so we don't
I was
need to
just about
travel.
to say. Yeah, I'm headed over to a phone now to ring the captain up myself. Letter still in hand. I'd like to do it now if possible. Is there a phone nearby?
You're back at the hotel, so absolutely.
Well, yeah, I'm
there's-
gonna ring the ship with exactly what Stoddard mentioned. You know, it looks like we have someone sending us threatening letters saying the previous captain was just the first, and we're gonna go to the police with it. But it's time to tighten up security, and obviously, I think the captain should know personally.
Much appreciated. Yes, Dr. Moore has already instituted measures in a similar vein. We've put more guards out on patrol around the ship and the warehouse, and instigated a strict sign in, sign out policy.
Very good. I think tighter security will set everyone's mind at ease. Well, there's much to do, but we'll be in touch. And I'll end the call there and work my way over to the police station with whoever wants to join.
I'm
Well,
gonna go
I don't think
ahead.
any much. Sorry, you can go.
I'm going to go ahead and give you the letter, and I'm actually going to invite Tremblay off to go get some liquor in Harlem.
I don't think now is the time to be drinking, Big Suze. I think we have important things to be doing. If you'd like,
He's
you can
not
join me while we
self-sufficient.
go talk to Lexington, perhaps, if we can track her down, or one of the other expeditions.
The
Yes.
good news about Lexington being a well-known New York socialite is that her estate up in Midtown is a well-known address, as it were.
I mean, I guess if you're going to be a fuddy-duddy, I'll come with you and go talk to Lexington. She better have something good to drink.
All right, so Tremblay and Suze are going to Lexington, and Wigglesworth has the letter then? Or who has the letter? I lost track.
I gave
I-
Wigglesworth my letter.
Okay, and you got the other letter today?
Oh, we have more than this letter? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the other letter is P8, by the way. It's the one that I read at breakfast.
Oh my gosh, this is the same crazy person.
I'm gonna go with, if you're heading out, we probably should not do solo runs. So if you want, Doctor, I'll go with you to the police station.
Much obliged. Okay, so now I have 2 letters. My goodness, and when did you get this one?
I got my letter last night.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I just...
And is Valentina going to be sitting around daintily holding up the hotel soda fountain, or going with one of the 2 groups, or forming a brave group of 1 on some other errand?
No, I think we need to go mess with Lexington and see if we can rile up that hornet's nest.
Okay. Then I think we're going to we'll start off with the 2 academics and their adventures with the New York Police Department. So the first question I have is, are you heading for essentially the nearest precinct, which is just down 6th Avenue a ways towards Theatreland, or are you going to head more downtown to the precinct of J.D. Hansley?
I think we should call ahead regardless of what we do, since there is a detective in charge, and they might be like, oh, he's not in, but you can go to the closer precinct. Or there might be, hey, he is in, come here right now. Or maybe he's going to come to us. We don't know. So I'd like to call in first.
Well, you do have Inspector Hanley's card.
I was just about to ask. Yeah.
This being early 30s is pretty much the first thing that would have exchanged hands. The requisite cards.
As reasonable as Stoddard is, Wigglesworth is basically just looking to go, but he's willing to wait. If Stoddard's like, "Oh, hold on, let's call first.
Let's make sure we're going to the right to the most effective precinct."
You basically get the request to come down to downtown, and by the time you get there, Inspector Hanley should be there to see you.
There we go. Precinct decided. Let's go.
So I assume you're probably just going to jump on one of the trolleys or grab the subway and trundle down. Getting downtown is not a problem, especially now that the Indian summer heat has cooled off somewhat. The subway isn't completely awful. And it's about probably 8 o'clock at night by the time you're outside the 4th and Kent police precinct. And you go in, you basically say that, yeah, we're expected, and you're shown into a very drab and basically bare interview room, where you sit around twiddling your thumbs for all of about 7 minutes before Inspector Handley comes in through the opposite door that you came in through, sits down across the table from the two of you, assuming that the two of you have taken up the 2 chairs on the one side of the table, or have you in fact taken the 2 chairs opposite tables, leaving the chair beside one of you for Inspector Handley?
I'm trying to think of how impish we are. Honestly, probably on the same side. It's a case of like, hey, it's the closest we're getting to an office visit, apparently. Let's just.
And to be fair, the chairs aren't completely uncomfortable, at least to start off with. They have a little bit of leather padding. And Handley sits down and says, "So I understand there have been developments."
Yeah, there have been, certainly. I don't know if Stoddard wants to start or I should, but I'm going to just regale him with the letters. I'll start reading the letters. I'll explain the circumstances, and then I'll say, I think you know what this means.
The Commodore's demise probably wasn't an isolated incident.
Well, I'm here to make a statement, and I sure hope you catch whoever's behind this. It's clear there was intent. Anything I can do to help, you just let me know.
Absolutely. If you're happy to make a deposition, let me just get a transcriber so that we don't miss anything.
Certainly.
And he steps back up, sticks his head out of the door and goes, "George, get in here and bring the stenography pad." And the beat constable comes in, sits down in the far corner with the stenography pad, and just looks up the three of you. And Handley says, "Whenever you're ready, sir." And I assume from your you basically lay out the facts as you know them.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to hold back necessarily. I'm going to try to give a complete statement. If they have any particular questions, I'll give an honest answer. Try not to make anyone look too bad, but things are what they are, and the goal is to give them information to catch this killer.
So yeah, there's not a whole lot of questions. You get the sense that you some of the questions that Inspector Handley does have are pretty much pro forma, as in where were you at midnight on Tuesday night, that sort of thing. Just sort of asking just because he has to ask them. He does go in a little bit dig in a little bit to your conversation with Dr. Moore, trying to get a sense of if Starkweather, trying to apparently get a sense of whether Moore was acting on his own behalf, requesting you to take care of the commander, or whether Moore was acting for Starkweather. He'll also ask you what you know about Acacia Lexington. That's to the pair of you.
Only what I've read in the papers. And I believe that's the whole of it for me.
I don't know that there's much else from Dr. Stoddard. Although you have, I do believe, and Valentina, please correct me if it's not the case, but I do believe that you did report back on your digging in the newspaper archives about the history of the Lexington family.
Yes, I did. The stuff I found out about the expedition to Africa and the relationship with the father and all that, yes.
Yeah. But I assume Stoddard and Wigglesworth aren't going to be shy about mentioning that.
Nope.
I mean, I don't think either of us really think Lexington is behind the murders. But,
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, I think Stoddard mentioned this before, but whenever he was mad, he would mention Lexington. So it's not clear that there is a connection outside of just having the feud.
it'd be probably shared in the case of, if you're looking for connect, we know the name's gonna come up. We have found that there's history, but, it's probably gonna be a case of, look, they seem to have bad blood. Make of it what you will. this seems like to us, it seems like a different party who is writing these letters, not Lexington.
Yeah, this seems a little intense for a feud, especially when she's calling for everyone's blood, more or less, anyone that goes there. So pretty extreme stuff.
Yeah. I would say go ahead and make a psychology roll each.
I fumbled that.
Bing, 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 bing.
So the
I rolled a
extreme.
2.
Okay. Yeah, Stoddard gets the sense that the inspector is not quite the brightest stick of the bunch. He's asking a lot of questions that clearly have got nothing to do with the commander's demise or indeed the Dyer. It just seems incapable of grasping the ill will that it's capable for one academic to generate against the other academics that are about to step into their turf. Whereas Dr. Wigglesworth is sitting back in the chair thinking, yeah, Inspector Handley knows an awful lot of what's actually going on. And he's doing a pretty good job of finding out what we know. I wonder if he's trying to catch us out in an omission of truth or an outright lie.
Yeah, I might even go further and deduce that means he has no suspects. So he's clearly fishing for a suspect here.
Yeah, and you have that little niggle at the back of your neck going, he's probably 50-50 and thinking, are we his suspects?
I get it. It's a strange case, but he's happy to review. He can review my history. At this point, I wouldn't mind if he holds the whole expedition up, frankly, but we'll see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to do my part and hope for the best.
And I was say eventually released, but it doesn't take too long, maybe an hour or so before you're graciously shown out of the building with thanks. They've returned the letters to you, but they've taken copies, or they've written down copies of them.
Photographs.
Indeed. Oh, no. Held them up against a window and taken flash photographs of them.
Whatever method they prefer.
Yeah. And meanwhile, swinging back to our other three, as you are out by.
They probably had a mimeograph, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly time enough that they should have. So we find our other three investigators out a little ways out on Long Island. having at this point, I should ask a question. Given that it's a little ways out on Long Island and it's getting on for nighttime, would you have taken a cab out? Would you have grabbed a car service? Would you, and or any other means of getting out there? And more to the point, would you have let it go once you arrived, or have you still got the vehicle close to?
I see us as like either renting a car or borrowing a car from the expedition, so we just have one, and there's not a specific driver with us.
That's an option. Absolutely.
So on the ride over, I would ask the rest of or the other two, how are we playing this? Are we members? Are we telling them we're members of the Starkweather expedition, or are we playing a different angle? I just want to know what we're going in as.
I really had no intention of coming out with any sort of facade. I was going to be just as direct with Miss Lexington as possible about what's going on. Any information she has or any role she may be playing in any of this, perhaps as well. But other than that,
Okay.
That's about it.
I just wanted to double check before we got into a conversation and somebody said something they shouldn't. So,
You know what they say, honesty is the best policy. I'll go ahead and knock on the door.
Well, before we quite get there, as far as the estate goes, so you've basically got you've got the street. There's a gate leading into the driveway. There is a car as you come up towards the estate, parked in front of the gates.
Are the gates open?
The gates are open.
I'll climb over the car to get on in.
So the question I have is, where are you intending to park? By the car, or some distance down the road? Or
so they're actually blocking the gate off from other vehicles
they are
entering right now?
they are actually blocking the gate. Yes. Well, they're not blocking the gate in as much as the sidewalk is there. So you could walk up to the gate and walk in. But as far as being able to drive in through the gate, they're blocking it.
I would say we park right behind them, right, and let the headlights shine into their car.
Yeah, that was really not a nice thing for them to do. I think we return the favor. Absolutely. Blocking them in so that they're blocked in at the same time that they're blocking the driveway up. Do we hear anything or see anything when we're?
The road is a full-blown two-lane road. So what you could do is do the sort of the police halfway block of angle your car either in front or behind them, but that would only stop them going in one direction.
I don't think we're being too aggressive with them, right? I mean, pulling up behind should suffice, shouldn't it?
Well, that's all I was going to say was we would just pull up behind. I was hoping it would be blocking them in, but if that's not the case, then yeah, just pulling up behind works for me.
Okay. So you pull up behind the car, and are you going out straight away, or are you going to sit in and see what this other car is all about
I would
before you head out?
see. I think we want to see what the reaction is to us pulling in and see what they do.
Okay.
I'd be very curious.
You do notice that it's a reasonable size saloon, 4-door. There is presumably, given their hats, men in both of the front seats. Doesn't appear to be anybody in the back. The rear door facing the sidewalk is open. And go ahead and make spot hidden rolls.
Oh, please let me roll lower than 53 today. $52.
Nice. Valentina got an extreme success.
Okay. So throughout this maneuvering, Valentina just happens to be in whichever seat in the vehicle is the right seat, so that she's managed to get a good look down the driveway leading up to the house. And she sees two men coming back down the driveway. But and Valentina, go ahead and make a psychology roll.
Sorry, I haven't used that one yet. 1 second. It's a 70 over 60. I will spend 10 luck to make that a success.
Okay. It takes you a second to realize why it is that you just have the sense that something is wrong. And it's the way the two men are walking in a strange formation. The second man is walking behind and half a step in to the other man. Sort of, so half obscured, essentially. The man in front is carrying a large bundle, sort of half held underneath their overcoat. But the man behind is just, he's in a lot closer behind the man in the lead than you normally would be if you were just walking two people alongside. Also, he's in half to 3/4 behind. So it's not like they were walking side by side and having a conversation or something like that. And as they make their way down the S, you just recognize your thought springs to that second guy has got a gun.
I think we're going to have some problems here, guys. And I reach into my satchel and pull out a 22 and rack the receiver.
I don't mind a little trouble.
I'm going to stick to the steering wheel and drive because I'm not carrying a weapon. Just in case, guys, I don't even think I'm a good driver. This could go horribly wrong, gentlemen, but yes, I'm with you.
And I think that's a good place as
Actually.
any to bring the night to a close.
Actually, I was going to say the two ladies are going to take care of me while I.
I was going to knock some heads with my damage bonus.
We will see what happens next time. Thank you all. I hope everybody who's watching and listening have enjoyed this as much as we have putting it together. And we will see you all next time.